after his death. It's in a lovely position up here on Castle Hill. That was lucky. We've come today to the seaside town of Tenby in southwest Wales, where there's lovely beaches, a beautiful harbour and some history. Okay, I'm in the harbour section now of Tenby, and Tenby is Welsh. The Welsh word for Tenby is it's another one of those tongue twisters, I'm afraid. I think it's Dinbych Pysgod. I'll write that up on the screen so you can see it itself and see what you think it is. Okay, here in Tenby there's a 13th century medieval town walls, including the Five Arches Barbican Gatehouse. With a strategic position on the far west coast of Britain and a natural sheltered harbour from both the Atlantic Ocean and the Irish Sea, Tenby was a natural settlement point. Tenby was taken by the Normans when they invaded West Wales in the early 12th century. Tenby's trade grew as it developed into a major seaport in Norman-controlled Little England beyond Wales. However, the need for additional defences became paramount after the settlement and castle was successfully attacked. William de Valence, 1st Earl of Pembroke, ordered the construction of the town's large outer walls in the late 13th century. The stone curtain wall, towers and gates enclosed a large part of the settlement in what is now known as the Old Town. With the construction of the town walls, Tenby Castle was made obsolete and had been abandoned by the end of the 14th century. And right on the harbour is a very old church. The harbour dates from the Middle Ages, when the town was one of the wealthiest in Wales. At its peak in the 14th and 15th centuries, ships from Spain, France and Portugal brought in exotic goods such as wine, oil, salt and fruits, and left with cargoes of wool, coal and hides. Merchants became rich and built fine houses inside the walled town. The Tudor Merchants House on Key Hill, which is now owned by the National Trust, dates from this time and is open to the public. We'll go to that in a minute actually. Oh, it is quite an old building. In the late 18th century, Tenby became an upmarket resort, attracting the rich and famous who came to take advantage of its clean bathing waters. Tenby's popularity has continued for over 200 years and people still come from far and wide to enjoy this magnificent location. And not far from the harbour is this, called Dead House Steps. So there's the circular opening below, was the entrance to the town mortuary from 1892. Very nice. 2 lifeboat stations, that's interesting. Nice structures as well. This is quite exciting. We've been given a rare opportunity to visit St Catherine's Island. It's not very open very often to the public, but today it is, and I'm going to go and see what it's all about. Should give good views back to the mainland actually. Oh, I don't know if I like this bit. Oh. I'm not too good with heights, I'm afraid. Okay, so I'm outside the fort now, and it says that the fort was recommended by the Royal Commission on the Defence of the United Kingdom, which had been established in 1859 by Lord Palmerston in response to a perceived threat of invasion by the Emperor Napoleon III of France. The commissioners believed that there was a danger that an enemy force might stage an amphibious landing on a beach in the southern Pembrokeshire coast and attack the naval facilities overland. So they decided that there should be a chain of these forts all along the coastline, but in the end, only this one was constructed. The guns on there, which I didn't actually see, they was intended to cover Tenby Harbour and the beach towards Saundersfoot, while the ones facing south covered the beach towards Penally, which is sort of behind me over there somewhere. It says here that in 1907 the fort was decommissioned and sold to the Windsor Richards family, who converted it into a private house. The gun shields were replaced by windows and the interior was lavishly decorated, although the fort was apparently garrisoned by the army during the First World War. During the Second World War, it was compulsory purchase in 1940, and the house contents was auctioned by Harrods. During the war, when an anti-aircraft battery was built in front of the fort, units serving there included the Royal Marines and a light aircraft battery of the Royal Artillery. After the war, the fort was again decommissioned and sold to a local solicitor who let it to various tenants, including Norman Lewis, the author, whoever that might be. It was sold again in 1962, and in 1968 the fort was opened as a zoo. What? Okay. In 1979 it relocated to a new premises, leaving the fort empty once again. It's now like a listed building basically, currently empty. Work is underway to restore the fort and open it to the public. Film crews have used it. The BBC TV series Sherlock filmed here in 2016. But behind me is the Welsh memorial to Prince Albert, Queen Victoria's husband, which was unveiled in 1865, 4 years after his death. It's in a lovely position up here on Castle Hill. That was lucky. Right. Oh dear. What's the next one? The original bandstand down there was built in 1897 for Queen Victoria's Jubilee, but was dismantled for the metal during the Second World War. The present bandstand was built in 1991. It says here, the commanding views from Castle Hill made it a popular location to early settlers. It's thought that this hill was the site of an Iron Age settlement. Where the Normans had invaded the area in the 11th century, they built a stone castle here. This tower of keep is part of the remains of the Norman castle and is used today to house a weather station. whole of Tenby is crammed with these narrow little streets. It's so easy to get lost behind them. One of the things that Tenby is known for best is it's got to be its beaches. It's some very long beaches. This one here is called South Beach. It's the longest one. Even though it's high tide, it's still very long. And it's really nice for a walk. One of the things I really like about Tenby is all the steps and the challenge of trying to run up them and having a go. Here we go. Easy. So that's it from me in Tenby. Time for me to disappear, I think. Oh yeah, and one more thing. If you're wondering why I kept changing clothes throughout the whole thing, that's magic as well, like this.